Hello everyone and welcome back to JavaScript lessons on Codecademy. So last time we made our own dragon slaying game kind of thing, so be sure to check that out if that sounds interesting to you. But today we're going to be working more on some more flow control, so let's get straight into it. So far we've only learned about if, else, and I guess while and for could maybe count as control flow, although they don't really. So here's how you can use them. You have if this condition is right, do something. Otherwise, if this condition is right, do something. If none of those conditions are correct, then do something third in any other case, so you don't have a statement. So our instructions are we need to write an if-else statement inside this is-even function. It should return true, and if the number it receives is evenly divisible by 2. Otherwise, it should return false. So how you do this is using the modulo operator, and let's just do it. So if number modulo 2 equals 0, so what this means is if when you divide a number by 2 there is no left over, so therefore equals 0, we need to return true. Otherwise, in any other case, and the other case is always going to be more than 0, so probably 1, there's going to be a leftover if it's a whole number, then we need to return false, because it's not going to be an even number, or it's going to be a decimal number. So we need to make sure to return and not use console.log. So there we go. We don't get any result because we didn't ask it to. Let's actually reload the page so that I can also show something off as well. You can also do is even, and let's say if you put in the number 11, you can also do console.log on this, and it's going to print out either true or false. In this case it should print out false because 11 is not divisible by 2, and there we go, or isn't an even number. So let's move on. If, else if, and else. So let's get some practice in else if as well as learn about a new fancy function, isNaN. I have no idea what that is. If you call isNaN on something, it checks to see if that thing is not a number. Oh, okay. So is not a number on berry is true because berry isn't a number, therefore it's true. isNaN on nan, I'm guessing nan is just another variable. You get true, undefined true, 42 false because it is a number. So if you call isNaN on a string that looks like a number, for example 42, but it has to have quotation marks, JavaScript will try to help by automatically converting the string 42 to the number 42 and return false since 42 is a number. Okay, that's interesting. That can actually come in pretty useful. Note that you can't just do isNaN unicorns unless you already defined the variable unicorns. You can, however, do isNaN unicorns in quotation marks, which is going to be true. The slashes, by the way, are just comments as we have covered before. Add an else if branch to your existing if else statement. If the number put into the function is not a number at all, instead of return true or return false, the function should return a string that tells the user that their input isn't a number. This string can say whatever you like. So let's actually read that again. If the number put into the function is not a number at all. Oh, okay. So I'm going to make this an else if then, and write my if statement here. So if it's not a number, so isNaN of number, and we need that if that's false. Or no, if it's true. So if that's true, then we need to return a string. That string is going to be just this isn't a number. There we go. So if we do the same thing here, but with, I don't know, unicorns, because that's the best example ever, we got, oops, it's supposed to be isnan, not asnan. Or maybe not. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I have a lowercase n there. There we go, now it turned red. So what we get as output is your input wasn't a number. So let's actually try that out with an even and an odd number and see what happens. So instead of unicorns, we can enter, I don't know, just a plain 42. Oops, I did not mean to just reload there, but I did. So it returns true because it is an even number. If we do 41, let's reload there again, and it should return false, exactly what it does. Let's now try entering a string number. So for example, 42 in a string. So we actually get true. Is that what the task wants us to get? I don't think it is. So if the number put into the function is not a number at all, so this is fine because this is a type of a number, but it's just in a string. Or at least that's what I'm going to take it as, because it's allowing us to move on. Otherwise it wouldn't allow us to move on. But if you did want to check that this isn't a string number, then you would have to first of all try converting it to a number, and if you can't convert it to a number, then handle it as an error basically. But that's a lot more complicated and I'm not going to get into that just now. So let's just simply move on. You guys can look into that if you want to, or I can maybe explain it to you in a private message, but I'm not going to use up the time for that. Great, just one more bit of review and we'll move on to the new stuff. So create a for or while loop in the editor. It can do anything you like. So we need to be careful to not make it an infinite loop because it might crash our browser. It doesn't usually crash your browser, but you don't really want that to happen anyway. So we need we can click hint. We shouldn't need that, so let's just use for and do this. So first thing you do in the for is assign a variable, which I will just set 0, and do my simple counting up to 10 thing. So while it's less than or equal to 10, I++, and then I will just console.log it. Simple. There we go. That works. You can do the same thing in a while loop. The syntax for a while loop is this. In the while you have what it's checking. So you can look at the solutions there if you want to. You can pause, but I will just move on. So sneak preview, the switch statement. So this is another type of control flow, which I am kind of familiar with, but I'm not very familiar with. I just know that it exists, basically. So as you might imagine, if you have a lot of choices you want to cover in a program, it might be annoying to type else if 10 times. That's why JavaScript has the switch statement. So switch allows you to present a number of options, or called cases, then check an expression to see if it matches any of them. If there is a match, the program will perform the action for the matching case. If there is no match, it can execute a default option. So if the case is sandwich, if the case is soup, if the case is salad, it does something different for all of those. But if it's none of those, then it goes into default. It does this. So basically, the first case is like the if. All of the cases in between the case and the default are like an else if, and the default is like the else if you want to use it as an if and else. But instead of writing out all the time if a variable equals another thing, do this, you can just simply do case salad and then do something. But to do this, you also have to not forget to use break, because without the break, it's also going to go and check if the other cases are true. So for example, if lunch is sandwich and this is going to be printed out, but then after that gets printed out, it's going to still check if case is soup, case is salad, which is very inefficient. But if you break, it's just going to skip all along to the end of the curly bracket and do whatever is on that line. So let's see what we have for the instructions. Take a look at the code in the editor. Can you see how the switch statement works? So hit 7 submit code to take it for a test drive. So variable lunch equals prompt, what do you want for lunch? Type your lunch choice here. So let's actually do pie, why not? It's one of the fun ones. Pie is not a meal, isn't it? Well, you can have savory pie, can't you? That's not true. Pie can be a meal. So yeah, I think that we're going to be covering this in the next lesson in more detail. But for now, that's all you guys need to know, because we'll be covering it in the next lesson, as I said. So don't worry about it. Good, now that we got that out of the way, I can thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave it a like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't like it, comment, ask me if you have any questions, feel free, I will reply as soon as I can. But until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.